Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Weller. I'm doing a very quick video and I thought I would do this on basically coming up with a new campaign idea. I've finished my 2-year campaign and now I have to come up with a new campaign, and clearly I've had some sort of discussion with my players. I'm going to have further discussions with my players, but right now I'm at that point where I have an A4 piece of paper which I've just jotted down a whole lot of different ideas, things I've always wanted to do that I haven't done that I would like to do now. Now I could run some of the pre-made adventures in the Forgotten Realms, such as Out of the Abyss. I haven't run that adventure, but I don't particularly like the way it's structured, so I'm kind of trying to avoid it as much as I possibly can. I could run the Tales from the Yawning Portal, which has been released. I'm not very keen on doing that, although I'm not against doing it. I would really prefer to do something that was my own, homebrewed, make it up as I go and tailor it to my players rather than have them follow a particular storyline. So I have spent a little bit of time with them and I've jotted down some ideas. So I'm going to just rattle off a whole bunch of different ideas. I had originally thought I might want to use, say, the Dark Sun campaign world. Because I like sort of that dying world feel. It really appeals to me, and I've used Dark Sun before and I've found it really interesting. What I did find was that my players didn't particularly like that world. It's such a brutal place that sometimes playing in it is not necessarily that much fun. I definitely don't want to do Forgotten Realms. I'm kind of sick of it. Eberron, I could live with Eberron. That sounds fine to me. I still think that just having my own homebrewed world where I don't have to do any real work sounds better. I have been throwing around the idea of the name Zenith, which comes from a piece of hardware. It's a hardware manufacturing company, but I think it would make a really good world. And that in itself is just starting with a name. All the players can come up with a name. It doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned. And then all I need really, I think, is just a basic continent layout, like just a single piece of paper drawn out and just bang. I just need to put one dot in there and give it a village or a town or a city, give it a name and start with that. And I don't want to do anything more than that. What I really want to do is I would love to do a mega dungeon. I'm not against actually running something from the Yawning Portal. It's the Forgotten Realms, but if I got to do my own under-mountain mega dungeon, that would be a lot of fun, and I'd be right into doing something like that. Another thing that I found really, really helpful is some of the one-shots that I did previously. Now, I did a one-shot called Dungeons and Dragons X-Files, which is basically a combination of the X-Files TV series and movie and the Dungeons and Dragons setting. And I basically made it about aliens and robots invading this fantasy world. And players loved it, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I really like the idea of meshing science fiction with fantasy. That appeals to me quite a lot. Their movie came out a long time ago called Chariots of Fire. Now, when as a kid I went to go and see it because my grandmother said, "Do you want to go and see this movie called Chariots of Fire?" Now, Chariots of Fire sounded like, oh cool, there's going to be chariots and horses and they're going to be on fire. Sounds really exciting. I'm in, yeah. And it wasn't that. I was really disappointed as a kid. It was not really what I was after. But I like the idea of having a campaign called Chariots of Fire, and I would set it in a sort of a Dark Sun world. Not necessarily Dark Sun itself, but a world that is dying. And I want to mix Mad Max, the movies Mad Max, and Dungeons and Dragons, and have orcs and goblins, roving bands of destructive tribes trying to survive and eke out a life in this world. And that would be a lot of fun. I'm right up for that. I'm even perfectly fine with the players deciding they want to play orcs or goblins. That's, yep, let's do that. Sounds different to me. I'm all for that. So these are a couple of ideas that I've been throwing around. Another one, there's been a lot of superhero movies right now, and I'm a Marvel fan and a DC fan, and I still like the Justice League. No matter how much people might say yeah, it's not so great, and there are other things. The Avengers are better and all the rest. But I like the idea of infusing a Dungeons and Dragons setting with the Justice League. I can just see it now, a floating fortress or castle that orbits this world that sends out its heroes to protect it. I like that idea a lot. So as I'm going through this, how does this relate to you? Look, when it comes to coming up with an idea for a campaign, I think it really comes down to get a piece of paper and a pen and just write down everything, and then take that, once you've written down everything you would like to do or conceivably would want to do, take that to the players and then see what they say. And this is what I'm going to do. Very shortly, about 2 weeks, we'll have a session 0. We'll sit down, I will throw a whole lot of ideas out. They'll let me know roughly what they want to sort of do as well, and we'll come up with a solution. Look, if you found this useful in any way, and I hope you did, I think this is more me getting a chance to actually talk about what I want to do rather than actually trying to help you in particular. But I think when it comes to actually coming up with a new campaign idea, you don't need to do an awful lot. I think just start with a brainstorm idea, work with your players, come up with a name, or get your players to come up with a name for your world if you're going to create a world, and then just one piece of paper and just draw a continent, and you can fill in all the rest as you go. I mean, why would you spend a lot of work? You may never go to certain locations, so it's a surprise for the players, and it'll be a surprise for you. Look, if you found this interesting, please share, like, and subscribe. Make a comment below if you have any questions about actually creating your own campaign. I've done a few so far. This is another one. I'm kind of like the idea of starting campaigns. It's the fun bit sometimes. Sometimes actually running it is much more work. Anyway, until next time, keep rolling those 20s.